Welcome to the weekend. Happy Saturday. This is Father Mark Toops over at Christ the Redeemer Catholic Church in Thibodaux. This past week's been a big week for us. We, in our podcast series, Choose to Live, this week unpacked how we can choose to live in congruence with our identity, really rooted in the Lord and that which is on the inside, making its way on the outside so that what people see is what they get and that we're living in the way that God wants us to live our lives. And it's been a big week, and I think for a lot of us, with some really important questions that we've asked ourselves, and with the paradigm of relationship, identity, and mission, it can be we can just acknowledge that it's hard for us to do that because we've been trained, we've been formed by life, by our culture, to maybe live in a different way and determine our identity in a different way. However, it's the way of the Lord that always leads to freedom, right? It's the way of God that shows us how we can receive the peace, joy, freedom, happiness that we all long for. It's the way that God has unfolded for us. And that's what we've talked about this week. And that's where we're going at Mass this weekend. I want to encourage you to maybe peer into our homily series, which takes another step. Last weekend, we started a homily series entitled The Way, where we are beginning to unfold what it means to be a disciple of Jesus Christ. What is the way that God wants us to live our lives? And does he have a way that's going to teach us how to do that in the practicalities? And last week, as we saw Peter being called to be a disciple, we're going to define what that word means at Mass this weekend. I think for a lot of us, when we hear the word disciple, it can seem like it's an intimidating word, or it can seem like it's almost a foreign word that maybe non-Catholic Christians use that word, but us Catholics don't use it. And we don't have to be intimidated by that. And I'm really excited about the series that's unfolding because I think you're going to like the practicalities of where the teaching's going to teach us day in and day out how we can live for the Lord. So on the heels of this week where we've talked about wanting to live in congruence, it's actually the homily series that's going to be very helpful to us in doing that day in, day out. So if you don't have a church home and you're listening to this podcast series, I want to invite you to join us at Christ the Redeemer for Mass this weekend as we talk about the way that God has in store for us to live as disciples. Next week, we're going to be talking about how we can live prayerfully. This past week, we talked about choosing to live in congruence. Next week, we're going to talk about how we can choose to live prayerfully, because that, on the heels of relationship, identity, mission, is what drives the relationship. So come on back tomorrow as we begin a new week together, as we're going to have some practical teachings about prayer. Looking forward to seeing you at Mass as we continue our series entitled The Way. And until all of that happens, whether it's at Mass or back with you on podcasts, God bless you.